Amanda with Straightsmile Solutions, straightsmilesolutions.com. Let's talk a little bit about creating your own retainer menu for after treatment. How a retainer menu can come in handy, how you can use it for additional revenue stream, how you can use it to mitigate litigation and liability, how you can use it to increase patient satisfaction, and what happens at the end of your Invisalign or your braces or your phase 1 treatment is super, super important that you have a great standard operating procedure, because this is actually one of the number one ways you can get yourselves in trouble. This is one of the number one ways that patients complain. This is one of the number one ways patients leave bad reviews, because it may be all fine and dandy and you might have done a great job with the actual treatment, but you dropped the ball when it came to retainer time. And this is not just orthodontists that drop the ball. No, we do drop the ball. Trust me, I see it happen all the time. But general dentists are big time dropping the ball because you guys aren't being taught about the most important third stage of orthodontics, retention. You guys are dropping the ball, patients are relapsing, they're getting mad, they're getting assessed additional fees, and they're leaving you bad reviews, and it's messing up your treatment and it's messing up your practice. So let me kind of walk you through some verbiage and some things that orthodontists do, and we probably don't tell you about this. So first of all, every orthodontist is going to do it differently. This is the way I've done it, and this is the way I've historically done it. And I finally had the time to put together a little bit of a retainer menu. This will be available in our store eventually, or you can just email us. It's $20 for a copy. We can send you it through our store. Or if you're ever a concierge member, you've paid for a session, I'll even extend it to a la carte. So if you bought a session, not a freebie, but if you bought a session, your VIP, your premium currently, ping me and I will send you a copy. And sometimes we do giveaways, so let us know. Okay, so for example, we want to make sure, of course, you have all the right documentation. I have a lot of things in our document store, or if you are any of our subscribed members, you can reach out and ask me for copies of it, and I will give you all the copies. They are free for our members. So we want to make sure the patient knows that it is a very important third stage of orthodontics, okay, and that they need to keep their teeth straight for a lifetime. I usually recommend that you do give one set of retainers at the end of treatment, one set of recommended. I'm not saying they get to pick whatever they want, because not all of them are recommended. And if you go through our retention playlist on our YouTube site, we have tons and tons and tons of videos, and we go over the pros and the cons and when you'd use what retainer for what. And, there might be lots of different opinions, So for example, for a phase 1 2x4, would I do a retainer? Kind of depends on what I did. So you should definitely check out that playlist and go through all those. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. You have time to go through all those before you listen to this, okay? I recommend giving one set, one upper, one lower, of recommended retainers included in the cost of treatment. I also recommend that they know upfront and in writing that any other additional retainers needed or desired, or any customization, will be an additional fee, okay? So they might want some backup retainers, or they might want a bonded retainer even though it's not recommended, but they're still going to need an Essex over it. So you're going to include the Essex and they're going to pay for the bonded retainer, etc., etc. And we're going to go through that. Keep in mind that not all retainers are meant to last a lifetime, and that's very important that they know this. Any breakage or loss will result in additional fee. We do warranty our retainers for normal wear and usage for 30 days. This is at the discretion of both the doctor and the laboratory. Any shifting or relapse that occurs as a result of such unlikely breakage within 30 days will be treated at no cost by the office. This is, again, at the discretion of the doctor. Any breakage that happens beyond 30 days is an additional cost to the patient. Any shifting that happens beyond 30 days is also an additional cost to the patient. If you see shifting or breakage within 30 days, you must contact our office within 30 days and come into our office for 30 days for exam, and bring your damaged retainers with you in order to utilize the warranty, okay? Your doctor has recommended one set of the following retainers. Have a line, write down which one you recommend. Now, I really like to give patients choices. I'm always a little bit nervous when you only give them one. So I would say my standard, there's a few exceptions, okay? And I'll kind of go over the exceptions. But my standard is either going to be an Essex, an in-house Essex, that, of course, remember, if you're making an in-house Essex, please watch all my videos on Essex, because not all in-house Essex is made correctly. You have to have the right tools and the equipment. A vacuum former is not proper making of an in-house Essex. You have to have, first of all, the right material, the right thickness of the material. You can't overheat it. You have to actually have a BioStar or a Mini Star, and you need to know how to trim it properly. So that's an investment to get the right stuff. No vacuum formers, those are from bleaching trays. If you do not have the right stuff, you need to send out. My friends at Specialty Appliances, they do very good in-house Essex. They call them, I think they call them Guardians, and they do really affordable upper and lower with a case. And I think they even send you the printed model as well. And I'm not going to say the price because this video will live on. You can contact my friends at Specialty Appliances and ask them. And lots of labs. The Orthodontic Lab is one of my favorite labs. They're very affordable. I think they may also have packages. And it's really nice if you get the printed model too, because then if you ever need to make another one, you have it. Or you can give it to the patient and say, hey, if you ever lose yours, bring this back and we'll do it at a very low cost. That way they don't have to get remolded, which should always be an additional fee if it is. So I usually offer one set of in-house Essex or one set of Holly. Now, Holly's going to cost me more, and I know most patients are going to pick the Essex over Holly, but Essex only lasts a very short time. Holly lasts for 10, 20, 30 years, So I don't love the idea of only letting them pick the Essex, because then as we scroll down and we go over the menu a little bit more, they're going to see that this has to be replaced on a regular basis, and they're going to feel like they're getting taken advantage of. So if we're giving them a choice, even though this costs me more up front, this might not be as great in maintaining the tops, the vertical issues. It's still a really good retainer, and it can last a life. It can, no promises, there's no warranty on that. But I've had mine for 20 something years. So when it's well made, it can last very close to a lifetime. So we want the families to pick the right thing for them. We don't want them to feel like we're roping them into having to buy a subscription program, which is why I like to give them two choices. So this is usually going to be my choice. There's going to be, or this and this, depending on what material I have, lab made or in-house Essex. But we're going to give them opportunities to upgrade to Vivera, to upgrade to other stuff if they want it instead. And very, very, very occasionally, I will have bonded retainer as included, but it's going to be at my discretion for special kinds of cases. If you want to know which kind of cases, you need to go through my retainer playlist and listen to this. Positioner is probably never going to be free. It's very expensive and takes time, but it is something they can upgrade to if they want. Okay, so let's continue to go through some of the fine print. And remember, if you do get a copy of our retainer menu and guidelines, we're not attorneys, so you need to really write your own verbiage. Don't just copy it, because this is just what we've done. I'm not saying it's right. Okay, so let's see. I also will generally give them the retainer menu in advance, not when I'm taking the braces off, not in the appointment when I'm scanning to take the braces off. It's going to be, in fact, I love the idea of giving it to them in their package at the consult. Why? Because really, really smart families are thinking about the whole process, not just the braces or the Invisalign part. They're thinking about the after part, the whole from start to finish. Really, really smart families who maybe have had other kids that have had braces, or they've had braces themselves, they know this is part of it. And the fact that you bring it up and you're very transparent about it at the beginning really is going to give them trust. And then they're going to go back and think about the other consults they had where nobody brought that up. And they're going to be like, wow, this doctor is really different. He's really on it. He understands these things. I already know what I'm expecting. So, and you can even say what retainers you think will be included for them. I mean, I generally know at the consult what type of retainers is best for a certain patient. Obviously, I'm not going to recommend bonded or fixed retainer if their hygiene is awful. That's a no, okay? Or if they're super active in sports or they're eating whatever, because they're going to rip it off, okay? So I like the idea a few months before the braces are even ready to come off. We're getting to the end. We're in the finishing stages. We're in the heavy wire spaces. We're closing the last bit of space. We're torquing this tooth, whatever. We're detailing. And now it's time to have that conversation. I give them the retainer menu. So I say the following are the prices if purchased in advance of having braces or aligners removed. So remember, they're going to get one set of whatever's recommended. I may offer them two options, and I'll write it in the thing. It might be this and this. It might be this and this. Rarely is it anything else. And then we're going to go over some of the different upgrades, okay? So we're going to tell them that most commonly they're going to be able to choose between either an in-house or a lab-made. If I have the in-house equipment, it's going to be in-house Essex or a Holly, right? If I don't, it's going to be lab-made Essex or a Holly. Or if I'm like really, really busy and we don't have time that day, it's going to be lab made. But anyways, so let's go over again the advantages of the in-house or the lab made Essex material. It's initially worn 24/7 for 3 to 6 months, and then phased down to nights over time at the guidance of the doctor. Advantages: it's clear and aesthetic, keeps teeth very straight because it covers all surfaces of the teeth. That is an advantage. It does help with vertical issues. It can be made by our office in 1 day. Disadvantages: it only lasts 3 to 12 months on average. It'll need to be replaced often in a lifetime. It's usually recommended, this is bing, 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 where you purchase additional pairs up front in case one wears out or breaks suddenly. Cost for additional retainer, not pair, is $60. So that's important. So they can say, okay, you're going to get one upper and one lower at the end. Do you want to purchase additional lab-based or in-house S6 retainers up front? If so, how many? We recommend that you have at least 4 uppers and 4 lowers, but this is your choice. If you want to make a decision to purchase them and have them ready at the time of delivery, you need to let us know now. The price will be $60. After that, the price will go up. And I don't even say what it is because it really depends. Okay, next option would be the Vivera Retainer. The Viveras are very similar to in-house and lab-made Essex, but they are made by Align Technology / Invisalign company. That means we're not making them ourselves. Our neighborhood-friendly lab is not making them. Only Align Technology in Juarez, Mexico is making it. So it's going to be branded and come in the Invisalign box. The other benefit is that quality control, they do a really, really good job. And they also store that STL or that final setup for quite a lot of time. I don't know exactly. I think it's about 5 years. You can ask them. So if you ever need to remake within that period of time, you just click a button and they will make more. So that's really, really nice, okay? So same benefits, but it's only sold in packs of 4 uppers, 4 lowers. Lab fee right now, at least in the US, is around $300-ish plus shipping. It might be a little higher where you're from. That's a total of 8 retainers. So, that's pretty reasonable if you do the math. It's actually about the same price as the lab made, except for you have to buy 4 uppers and 4 lowers. So it's a higher price, but it's a very good value. Of course, in order to do that, you have to have an iTero scanner. So it's not for everybody, right? Disadvantages is going to take a couple weeks to show up, so you're not going to get it same day, so you have to plan for it in advance. They can digitally remove braces, which is good, although it's not really my favorite idea. I don't think it's quite as accurate. I generally would prefer to do, and I didn't even mention this, but if you're really going from braces to Vivera, I would prefer that we take the braces off. We make kind of a sloppy in-house Essex. I'm going to take it away. I'm going to tell them it's temporary because it's not going to be perfect. I don't want them thinking this is a good retainer long-term. And while we're getting our teeth cleaned and everything, get the swelling going down, then we're going to go ahead once the braces are off and scan for the Vivera. It's going to be a much better fit if they've had a cleaning and their gums are healthy. So that's generally what I've always done before Vivera. But, just something to keep in mind if you're going from braces to whatever. And sometimes we're going to do this, even if we're making an in-house Essex. But I normally do the 2-step. But if they really, really want to get the Vivera, I would rather give them the temporary upper and lower, and then I'll give them the Vivera that they purchase afterwards. And so it's actually going to be a better fit. But, however you decide to do it is your choice, okay? Let's move on to the Holly retainer. And I just did a huge video. I posted it yesterday about Holly customization, clasps, and all that stuff, so you can listen to that. Same way as Essex retainers, you're initially going to be full-time 3 to 6 months, and you're going to slowly move down to nighttime. The doctor will help you with how the phase down to nighttimes are going to go. I wear mine like 1 night a week now, but it's really up to the doctor if you can get away with doing that or not. And there's tons of videos about educating you on how to do that. Usually for the Holly, I'm going to offer an upgrade fee for customization. I might include, I think it's nice to include a single color or glitter. Usually that's only like $5 or $10. And so I'll eat the cost on that because it's just nice. And there's so many parents out there that won't let their kids customize it. So I really want to make sure that all kids, not everyone's stuck with a pink or clear retainer because clear turns yellow. I want everyone to be able to pick a color, okay? But I let them know there's no refunds on the artwork or customization. If they don't like it, I'm sorry. That's how it is, okay? So customization or like detailed artwork decals is at the discretion of the lab. We'll get a quote on it. It's usually about $50 to $200 per retainer. They could do some pretty cool stuff, okay? Lifespan of a Holly is usually on average 5 to 30 years if it's properly worn. It's not great at maintaining vertical issues. So we talked about that before. Vertical issues, because it doesn't cover the tops of the teeth, it's not gonna, if one tooth was initially longer than the other, it might relapse. It's not gonna control that necessarily. So can't guarantee that if you choose the Holly. The Essex is better at controlling straightening, in all 3 planes of space, but it also doesn't last as long, and not everyone thinks they're comfortable. So I personally hate, on me, I just didn't like it. So I went back to the Holly. So disadvantages, this was like the standard retainer in the 80s and 90s, but Now, I wouldn't say everyone has it anymore. It's not as aesthetic. It affects speech more than an Essex. It doesn't keep teeth as straight, okay? But I mean, it does last a really, really long time. I didn't really mention the advantage. It does let the bite settle, which is a huge advantage. That's a big thing. All right, let's go on to number 4. This is our bonded or permanent retainer. And I've got a ton of content on that. Again, you can go listen to all the content, different customizations. Should it be just 2 mesh pads in the end? Should you use just a braided wire? Should you have it custom made? Should you make it yourself? Should you put a mesh pad on all 6 teeth? Personal choice. You should watch those ones. There's very, very rare that I'm going to include that. Now, a lot of people are going to ask for this. This is very common to ask for this. And there's a lot of GPs that I'm doing where I do recommend that they do it, and then they let the bite settle and they make an Essex over it, and we do include it. Only reason why I kind of push my GPs to do this pretty commonly is often they don't want to take the time to quote unquote finish the case, which might be detailing bends in a braces case or Z elastics, and a lot of the stuff orthodontists know how to do that a lot of GPs often, I feel like they find it's tedious. It's something that we're just used to. We'll take the extra 2 to 3 months to finish the case. But a lot of GPs are like, it looks fine. Patient says it's fine. Okay, well, the bite isn't good. You're only touching on like 4 teeth, so we can't just take it off and discontinue Invisalign or braces and go straight into an in-house Essex because only 3 teeth are going to touch, and that's below standard of care. You need all the teeth to touch. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and put the bonded retainer upper and lower. And I know they teach this in a lot of classes like 6 Month Smile, so it's not wrong by any means. And then once the bite settles, we're going to make an Essex to go over it. That's great, there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's a little bit time consuming, but I generally don't include that. I make that an upgrade fee because I am going to take the time to finish the case. Now, let's do the flip side. Some patient is pushing me to finish up quickly. They have to go somewhere. Yeah, sure, they can pay for that. We can discontinue treatment early and they can pay for the additional bonded retainers upper and lower. So I'm going to include the Essex because that was included anyways, the upper and lower, but the bonded retainers is going to be an additional, depending on who it is, $300 to $500 per arch, That includes the manufacturing and bonding visit. I'm not going to make this in-house. I give an exception. If it was a phase 1 patient, I will make it in-house, and I probably won't charge extra for the phase 1 patient because I really like these in phase 1 patients, like maybe that on top and then lower a lingual arch maybe or something like that. So that I will include in a phase 1 patient, but not in an adult patient, just because the issues that come up with it are huge. So I want them to choose it. I don't want it to be like I chose it for them because I know issues are going to come up, right? So they still need to wear their Essex or Vivera at night over the fixed retainer to keep their back teeth straight. We're going to do it in a 2-step process. First, we're going to deliver the upper and lower bonded retainers, let the bite settle, and then we're going to go ahead once the bite is settled and mold for the Essex Vivera to keep the back teeth straight. I do want to make sure they know that if they choose to remove the bonded retainer, unless it's requested by the doctor, is $200 to $400. So if they decide they want it off, there is a fee to take it off as well. What are the advantages of the bonded retainer? Well, first of all, it keeps teeth very straight, assuming you made it properly and it's passive. So that's why I really recommend that you send out for it and you don't try to do it in-house, because I see all kind of nightmares that happen when you try to do it in-house. It isn't removable, so it's great. You don't have to worry about compliance, but you do have to clean around it. Otherwise, you can get crazy perio issues. These suckers can last a lifetime if they're done properly. So, but if they're done improperly and they break, bad things can happen. Disadvantages: there are food restrictions. Okay, you can't like bite into a bagel or an apple or pizza crust. It can shear right off. If it only partially shears off, really weird things can happen. So it's really important if it breaks that they get in quickly. And this can become a real emergency if they're off at college or on a vacation and things start relapsing quickly. So you want to make sure that they understand that. It's also difficult to floss, and it might not be ideal for your periodontal health. You have to have immaculate hygiene. I'm not saying, most dental hygienists hate these suckers because most patients don't know how to clean around them. You have to know how to use a floss threader, have a water pick, and all that kind of stuff. Breakage is very common. Common in terms if you don't eat properly and you don't follow the food rules, right? Not everyone, especially Invisalign patients who aren't used to having food rules and they suddenly ask for a bonded retainer, it's like, whoa, what do you mean I can't eat this and that anymore? So I can eat a taco, a crispy taco? Maybe they can, maybe they can't. But you have to let them know that breakage can happen and shifting can be very rapid and discomfort can happen. And any breakage and shifting that happens as a result, I think it's a great idea to warrant it for a given time. I usually warranty it for up to 30 days. But after that, After that, the breakage is on you. If it breaks, in the first few weeks, I mean, that's a gray area, but after that, it's on you. You ate something you shouldn't have. And there's going to be a fee, not only to replace the retainer, but also to fix any relapse that happened. Let's move on to a spring retainer. Spring retainer is kind of the great-great-grandfather to an aligner or Invisalign. That's the spring retainer, and actually the positioner is what we had back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s before we had Invisalign to keep teeth straight, to make teeth straight, okay? With our removable appliance. So these are still good retainers. Matter of fact, this is my retainer. I couldn't find a great stock image, and they're not made that commonly anymore, so I showed you mine. This sucker was made in 2003, so there you go. Still around, a little discolored, has some glitter in it, can't really tell. By the way, that's clear. Clear turns yellow. So a spring retainer is a holly retainer that has activity, and there's lots of different ways. Sometimes you'll actually see springs, you'll see little pistons, you see levers, but this is basically a spring. So it has spring action. I can activate it or I can compress it. So it has activity, springs, or levers to keep teeth straight if they shift. There is an upgrade fee for the spring retainer, depending on the complexity of the design, customization, and artwork. I don't think most patients are going to pick this. It's very, very rare, but very occasionally they will. So it's a good idea to put it there. So same wear as the holly. All right, last and not least, we have the positioner, which is still one of my favorite retainers, but it's definitely going to be probably the least popular. But I like to put options on there because there's always somebody that's like, oh yeah, I know about this. I would really want one of those. So, and there's certainly nothing wrong with it. So the positioner is the least common kind of retainer, but it was the most common retainer in the 60s and 70s. My husband had one, and he loved it, but that's all they were offered back then. And back then you didn't use retainer for a lifetime. Retainers or the positioner was used to help settle the bite and to idealize the occlusion. And then they would just occasionally wear it at night, and then they stopped and they all relapsed. So it's BPA-free rubbery plastic material with an elastomeric nature that is custom formed around the teeth. So back in the olden days when they would make it, they would actually take an upper and lower, stone impression, alternate impression, pour it up in stone, a face bow, they'd mount in an articulator, and then they would create the positioner around the teeth, and they would actually section the teeth out, almost like you would do like when you used to do a denture setup in dental school where you'd idealize the occlusion. They do that. So any tooth that's not quite settled, not quite rotated, kind of like you do on a Clincheck, but they're doing it to make this positioner to help improve the occlusion, okay? You can't talk with it in. It's a one-piece mouthpiece. And I know that this is actually eruptive guide and appliance. This is like a pedo version of it because I really couldn't find a positioner. Actually, my son has one somewhere in his closet because we actually did make him one by TP, but I couldn't find it. So they do make, just to clarify, there is semi-custom and custom positioner. So I'm going to assume you're going to be doing custom. The only person that can make a custom positioner right now, the patent goes to TP Orthodontics. TP Orthodontics is a lab in South Bend, Indiana. They've been around 50, 60, 70 years, since definitely the 50s. They are the people. They can make them in colors. There's all kinds of customizations. It's really, really cool, and they're still doing it. Takes about 6 to 8 weeks, I've heard, for one of these suckers to come in. They do also sell a semi-custom version that comes in like 30 different sizes, which can be measured with a little measuring ruler. They have guide to it. It works pretty well, but it's not going to work as well. So, I mean, you could definitely deliver a semi-custom, initially a debond, and then have a custom made. Semi-custom price, I think, is less than $100, but that's probably what I would do. And then while the bite is, everything's settling and everything, you can have the custom one made and they can switch it out. They also have semi-custom ones. So there's a kids version of this too, but there's no custom for kids. So Healthy Start by Ortho makes a kids version. It's called the G. The adult version, they do have an adult version that's semi-custom called the N. So you can buy those too. You have to be a Healthy Start provider to buy those though. TP, you do not have to be a provider to buy one of those. There's no course you have to take that's expensive. But if you are a Healthy Start provider, their G is really great for mixed dentition. My only issue is that they do not generally offer it just as an a la carte single purchase. You have to buy the whole plan, which is very expensive. I think it's an absolutely fabulous, as much as I might not love their company and how it's run, I think it's a fabulous, fabulous appliance for the mixed dentition when you finish phase 1 and go on to phase 2. It is, to be quite honest, it is my retention of choice. If they sold it individually at a reasonable price, they would probably get a lot more promotion and referrals from me, but they don't. So, and for other reasons, I don't send them that many people, but that's just me and them. All right. So let's see. What else? A positioner is going to last about, I don't know. I mean, they can last 10, 20 years. They're going to get a little nasty, but you can bite through them. So I'm not going to say exactly how long it's going to last, but it lasts a pretty darn long time. But it takes time to get manufactured. If you're getting custom, you can always purchase a semi-custom, but I don't think a semi-custom should be a final retainer. They don't always taste good initially. And they can't be worn when you have nasal blockage or if you have the flu or allergies. You're not going to be able to wear it, right? Because you're not going to be able to nasal breathe well. So it's probably going to spit out at night. You do need to wear it at least 14 to 16 hours a day, at least initially. And then you can eventually go down to night. So this is the only retainer that isn't initially worn full time. I know there's probably some people that don't have their patients wear their retainers full time, but I completely disagree with that. And I've definitely experienced weird things that can happen when you don't do that. So I prefer to play it safe. Other benefit of the positioner, not unlike these, but even better, is because it's rubbery and because it has the ideal occlusion, if theoretically you stopped wearing something for a little while and then you put it back in, it will probably move your teeth straight again. So these can do it too, but this works better because this is rubbery, so it actually has a force. These are just hard, so there's no force, right? So you can definitely get, so even like a spring retainer, it definitely has that additional benefit. So this is always going to be an upgrade fee. I know my cost is going to be close to $400, so, but it is an upper and lower in one, right? So we're not paying for two different retainers, we're only paying for one. So it really isn't that much more expensive if you think about it, but it just takes a lot of time. All right, phew, that was a lot of information. So I am in the process of making an actual menu. It'll be a template for a menu. It will be available on our store, or you can contact us to purchase it. And like I said, if you're one of our members, we will give it to you for free. Just ask. All right, hopefully that was helpful. Thank you.